All right, let's just fire this back up and pick up where we left off. So again, I am streaming probably in a not so orthodox method, so apologize for the technical interruptions. But let's just pick up with where we left off in terms of like coming up with app ideas for building on Lovable, right? So let me just do some housekeeping stuff real quick, just to make sure if anybody's still interested in this idea that they can find, they can pick up where we left off. So this is part two of a previous stream where we started talking about this. So I got about 30 minutes into that stream, which is on the chat, should be already, you know, sort of something that you can get to on my channel, Gray's Reality on YouTube. But I'm just going to post a follow-up thing quickly on my, on Twitter, on X, so that, again, we're still talking about the same subject. So let's see if I can just make sure that people know that the continuation is here. So post here, let's see. Sorry, technical issues. Here is part two. Part two of our discussion about app ideas to build. And do I even have a thing? No, hold on. Let's paste this. All right, I don't even know if that's going to go to the right place, but we'll figure it out. Okay, 2 minutes in. Let's pick up where we left off. All right. So we were talking about app ideas, right? And specifically, Lovable is what we're building on. So ideas to apps in seconds, but how do you know what to build, right? What should we build? So we were just talking about using ChatGPT to come up with new ideas, right? So we've got a list of easy ideas to build, like stuff that takes less than an hour to maybe something that takes a little bit longer, like a week, right? And then we get into, and so then this provides us with more inspiration, right? So again, if you're just tuning in, habit trackers, personal expense trackers, fitness progress trackers, a lot of tracking things. It looks like ChatGPT wants to build a lot of tracking things. An event planner, custom journal, book or movie tracker, again, another tracker, a recipe manager, recipe tracker, multi-user chat app. Okay, so that's a little bit different. Trivia game. So again, something that I haven't built out, but I saw somebody do a pretty cool build. And again, maybe something that we'll do in the future on the stream is like showcase other cool builds. Because I was playing this like little cool game that somebody built on Lovable. It's kind of like a memory game with cards. Anyways, another idea, a game, some sort of game. E-commerce. I do like e-commerce because my background is generally speaking in marketing and advertising. So e-commerce, anything related to converting funnels and, you know, getting somebody to buy something online, conversion rate stuff, building a cart that converts really well at a high rate is something that everybody's always looking for. So building an e-commerce prototype or building a landing page. So I'll often be, again, going back, hearkening on your own personal like work experience, any experience that you have, like what are your strengths? What are you good at? What do you know? What spaces do you know? I think that's always a good place to like think about new app ideas. So somebody else may see e-commerce prototype and they have no interest in it at all. But me, I have a background in marketing, e-commerce specifically, advertising. And so the idea that you can build something on Lovable, maybe like a landing page with a Shopify integration would be pretty cool, right? Use the Shopify API and then have Lovable connect to it. And then you can pull down specific products, especially if the client's website maybe isn't very good. Then Lovable, you can, you know, have a dedicated landing page, you know, a video sales page, a lead gen page, something like that. You can build it out in Lovable. Pet care tracker, another tracker. So lots of trackers, bulletin boards. And then this got into, this then extends into, okay, what else can we do? So I've got in Lovable so far, you know, I built out the integrations with Superbase, you know, so with my own personal domain thing that we built yesterday, the app for the personal website, I connected it. I ended up connecting it back to Superbase. I didn't want to do that initially, but ended up pushing it back to Superbase because turns out if Netlify, the Edge functions you can't use for free. So you need to be a paid member to use Edge functions with Netlify. And in order to get the make webhook secure, like so that it's not just exposed and like anybody can just ping my webhook, or anything like that that requires any sort of keys or secrets like that, that you would typically have, I guess, in an environment variable, like an env file. Stuff like that, you have to, it's seemingly, again, with my limited understanding of code, it seems like what's happening is anything like that needs to be done through an Edge function. Like, so with Lovable, they have the integration with Superbase, which makes it super easy. I was trying to like figure out a way to have less reliance on Superbase and use Netlify, but it turns out you need a paid plan on Netlify to use their Edge function. So it ultimately ended up using Superbase. But that sort of spawned some new ideas, right? So as you sort of go through these things where you're building on Lovable and you're not sure what to build next, maybe you start thinking about how you can use Lovable with different things, right? So again, I like make.com, similar to Zapier. If you've ever used Zapier or any sort of automation, there's another one called N8N. That's a little bit more technical. I have not tried N8N because as soon as I found Make, I pretty much built everything on Make. So I have a lot of automations that flow through Make, including one that updates like this YouTube channel and sends, you know, the transcript to ChatGPT and then gets a summary of it with a title. And then I just use that to update like the live stream information. So app ideas. What can you build with other solutions that you know have used in the past? What can you hook it up to? What can you tie it into? You know, that kind of thing. So don't think that you're maybe limited to like Superbase, for instance. I mean, it is a cool integration. But like the last conversation I was having with ChatGPT literally was like, okay, can I connect this to something else? Like, can I connect Lovable to Airtable? I've been building out a lot of things in Airtable, especially with the automations that I've been doing. So make flows that end up, you know, pushing the responses that I get from OpenAI back into Airtable or Google Sheets. You know, so can you connect Lovable to an Airtable? Can you connect it to Notion? Like maybe you build stuff in Notion, maybe you build stuff in Airtable. Can you build a front end interface for it using Lovable? And, you know, ChatGPT says you can pretty much do anything these days. So it's like, yeah, totally. You know, you just need to do this and, you know, get the API key for Airtable, you know, do it this way. And then it's like, what about landing pages? Yeah, you could do landing pages with Airtable too. It's not the best for, and then it gives me some specific reasons, like things to pay attention to, like concern, like, you know, here's what you should keep in mind, rate limiting and things like that. But, and then it's like, oh, tools to simplify the process. Look, you know, make.com. Yes. You know, so stuff that you use, also stuff that you used in the past, Softer.io and Porio.io. Those are all so like layers that I've tried to add on top of Airtable in the past. So Airtable, you have your data, but then you want an interface for it. So it was like, okay, what are the options? It was like Pori.io, Softer.io, and I've used both of them. Pori.io was limited at the time because they were just like a really small team, like 1 or 2 people. And they've grown a lot since then. I haven't revisited the product, but I have, you know, built out a couple projects with Softer. And again, very cool stuff. Like you can build out an entire front end interface for Airtable, you know, with update, delete, what is it called? CRUD. So you can build stuff there. All right, so a lot of different ideas for building apps. You know, you can turn to ChatGPT. And so there's just one other, like, so we've talked about personal projects, building out app ideas, what can you do? What can you build? Because again, with the idea that you can build anything in seconds, any apps in seconds, what should you be building? What could you build? What should you build? I think a lot of that is going to be down to experience, personal passion projects. I find that, regardless if I don't know why I'm doing something, if I'm interested in it, it ultimately always becomes something viable, like, something that I can use in my personal life, in my professional life, like if it's something that means something to me. I just find that I generally speaking make more progress that way, as opposed to just like building out random apps for like, just because like as an exercise, like as homework, right? So if I had any sort of guidance, I would say, look at that. Because what I want to do now is talk about like another potential way to build apps. So you don't have any, you don't really know, you've gone down the personal experience, like there's nothing really interesting. You don't know. Maybe you have different goals in mind. Maybe, just looking to make money, right? So what makes money? And so a lot of stuff I see on X or Twitter is kind of like, look at this app. It does, X amount of revenue, as people that build in, build in public or projects like that, or SaaS and monthly recurring revenue. MRR is always like this huge topic of it's like what anybody cares about is like how much money does it make. So you could look at existing apps that are successful in the market already. And and if you're wondering how to do that, it looks like they're pulling and aggregating a lot of the data from Sensor Tower. So this is if we go back, I think to the home page. Well, actually, yeah, I don't know how to get. So I don't spend a lot of time on here, but let's just go back to where I was, because that seems like an easier place to navigate for the time being. But Sensor Tower will give you like the top apps in the country. Yeah. So right now we're looking at just the US, but depending on whatever market you're in, whatever territory, you can adjust this accordingly, right? And then you can pick iPhone, iPad, stuff like that. So this is health and fitness, like the top apps in this space. So you can see that there's like sleep tracking, calorie counting, cosmetic scanners, calm apps, heart rate trackers, like pets. And so again, some sort of gamified thing, like another thing that I want to build. When I see something like the virtual pet, I see the other stuff that I see in terms of technology and integrations with Lovable are things like 3JS, which I have no experience in, like building out like kind of like, what is it? Web graphic link, WebGL. Anyways, like really like 3D sort of like graphics within the browser based, like, but with 3D rendering and stuff, 3JS, 3D like Java. I think of a pet, and then I think of it, okay, it'd be cooler if it was in like a 3D environment or a 3D space. And I've seen a lot of 3JS stuff, and I've seen people do some interesting things with Lovable, and I'm like, it would be cool to build something like that. So again, that's sort of, I see virtual pet, and then I think of what Lovable could do. I think of how the technology stack that I guess it's building stuff with, and I'm like, oh, well, that might be an interesting thing to do. So what else you got in health? You got white noise generators. Again, sort of harkens to my soundscape generator. Not directly inspired by white noise, but just I know it's a pretty big space in terms of like Calm. The Calm app is like one of the top apps. White noise, another. So we're talking about like mental health sort of like solutions to help, with mental health or sleep, anxiety, like all these, things that are going on. And you got fitness, trackers, Calm again, brain training apps. So any sort of thing that helps you learn, which I think would be cool. Like, so if you had a Lovable app where you can like do mini games or like some sort of like daily game to keep you engaged, that would be pretty cool. Health stuff, macro trackers, some sort of calculator. Again, we talked about kind of my idea was like the credit card calculator, the snowball calculator. Like, this is a different kind of calculator, but needless to say, still a calculator. Tracker. So let's get out of the fitness space and maybe let's explore some other space. And let me see if the stream is still up. All right, so we're still good. We're 12 minutes in, about 15 minutes into this new stream. Let's go to on a different category. Let's talk about, what should we look at? Health and fitness, photo and video. I don't know if there's anything interesting here, but one of the other things is like, can Lovable connect to like your webcam? Can you do, in the past, I've like done some photo booths, like setups, with an iPad and like using photo booth software to like take pictures and then, put them on like an overlay and like do the stuff, where typical photo booth stuff. But can Lovable connect with like your camera and then take pictures or do anything like that? I have no idea. But something that I'd probably be interested in checking out. So face apps, these are all require some sort of camera connection, but there are video editors or maybe like some other editing type interface you could build out with Lovable. Photo enhancers. So again, the idea that you can upload a photo to Lovable, build out an interface for uploading photos, and then it AI enhances them so you become a superhero or whatever. Again, that's sort of like blends between photo booth space and AI enhancements. So whether you can take a picture or not, or connect it to your webcam or not, you still can upload a photo. So if you can get a photo into Lovable, then you can still push it out to an AI for photo enhancement or turn yourself into a Marvel superhero or something like that. Video editors, Lightroom editors, picture editors, anything like that. Retro's 80 cam is on here. Maybe you can apply effects, like create an interface that, makes your pictures look like film, like that kind of thing. So some ideas there. That's just photo and video, but you could do this for any of these categories. You can this is kids categories. So let's go with business, see if there's anything in the business space. So you got PDF scanners. A lot of PDF scanners seem hot. Scheduling apps, voice recording apps. Again, another app that you could probably build out using Lovable, some sort of like way to interface with your microphone, because I'm using the WebSocket. Like, I know some of these things are things that you could do to a different capacity because I've done them, right? So like with Lovable, I've got this journal app that connects to ChatGPT using the real-time chat, and it engages the microphone on my webcam. So it allows me to, with the proper permissions, of course, but you can use the webcam to record audio. And so it captures my audio. And so if you could do that, you can build an audio recorder. And what could you do with an audio recorder? You can make one of those, like summaries, like AI summary notes or AI like task lists, but it can be audio based. So you can just dictate and then it just takes that dictation or takes the transcript and then, does whatever you want with it based on, whatever your goal is. Invoice tracking. There's a lot of invoice tracking. Invoice to go, invoice over here, invoice over there. Scan business cards. So maybe there's a cool way you can use Lovable to scan business cards or scan something, I'm not really sure how that would work, but I figure if you can access the microphone on my webcam, it should be able to maybe access the camera. I'm actually pretty interested in seeing if that could work. Scanning, printing, lots of different apps. If you drill into any of these, like let's just find something a little more interesting. Let's go into the education sector. All right, Skyview. Let's just check out this. Skyview, right? So you go in here and then you've got whatever the app is about, a description. Explore the universe, right? So stargazing, constellations, planets, satellites, and more. This is like the #1 app in or not #1, but it's pretty high. Paid downloads, right? And in-app purchases. So you go in here and there's a lot of people interested in the sky. So Skyview brings stargazing to everyone. Simply point your iPhone to the sky to identify stuff up there. Not sure that you're going to do that with Lovable, but there is, just generally speaking, constellations, planets, satellites. Maybe there's something in the space you could do. This is a paid app. It's like $3. So there's people spending money on this app, which is, if we talk about it, just exploring the universe. So maybe there's a cool way, maybe even with 3JS and like constellations and stars, like you make 3D version of like constellations that people can explore, like spin them around and like do whatever. But it's the actual, whether it's the Big Dipper or Orion. You know, you could navigate the stars using Lovable. Yeah, somehow. Again, don't really know, but there's a lot of interest in the space. So this is like, you know, ways that you can consider new apps. Flashcards, right? Maybe you need to learn some stuff, right? This is $24.99 on this. So people are spending $25 for flashcards, right? Australian based, you know, #1 since blah, blah, blah. Smart and powerful flashcards, right? So free, multi-platform. What if you're trying to learn something? You know, I think you could probably build on an app pretty quickly, some sort of basic flashcard functionality in Lovable. Now, yeah, I don't know what you'd want to learn, 1+1, or, you know, if it's geared towards like whatever age group or something a lot more complicated. But I'm pretty sure in terms of the functionality with cards, like the idea that you could have cards and it'd be a learning system with like some sort of timer. Again, probably a lot of different things you could do, right, in this space. So flashcards, what else we got in here? There's all kinds of stuff, right? So there's just so many different things that you could teach your monster to read, right? Teach your kids to read, teach your dog to read. It goes on and on. Like you could just sort of take some of these things that there's clearly a demand for because these are the top grossing, top ranking, most downloaded apps in the world or in the United States, for instance. So this is sensor analysis or Sensor Tower. And I think this is, you know, it started as App Annie. And then App Annie got bought out, and I think it turned into something else. And then I think ultimately Sensor Tower just bought everybody in the space, or is the current version of App Annie. But you can come in here and get a feel for like what is hot, like what, and don't, again, this is where it's like, don't just copy what's here. You know, think about how you can reinterpret it, reimagine it, modify it. Think about how you could, again, when we're talking about Lovable, think about how you could use the tech stack here and make some of those things. Make it more, you know, as opposed to mobile, maybe make it a little bit more of a browser experience. That kind of thing. So ideas to apps in seconds. There's so many things now that you could produce in very short amount of time. And what do you build, I guess, is now kind of like the bigger question. Like what do you build? Because it's not what can you build. It's like, what do you build? What do you choose to spend time on? And that kind of thing. So I think that's so between the two streams, between the little interruption in the middle, I think that pretty much wraps up my thoughts today. I think I have like, as a result of it, a bunch of new ideas because I was kind of at a place where I was like, what do I build now? Do I just keep building something, or do we talk about like what else we could do? And there's a lot of things. So just keep that in mind. So a few different places, ChatGPT, you could turn your attention, you ask AI what you should build, what you could build. I do things like in my ChatGPT specific conversation, I am platform specific. So I'm like, you know, Lovable is this and it's built on that. And so what kind of apps are kind of conducive to that sort of environment? And then give it limitations in terms of like structure. So apps that I can build in a day, a week, a month, that will then add complexity to your project. And then of course you got Sensor Tower, you got app data, like rankings data that you can look at. I think other things would be like keyword data. So you can go and look at some sort of like keyword planner tool. Google has one, it's free. You can go look by keyword volume, look at, you know, different apps, and then or Google Trends. It's just a lot of different places where you could come up with new ideas for apps. And so I guess the big takeaway is, yes, you can build an app in seconds, but what do you build? It's not so much, I don't think the conversation is anymore like, what could you build? It's more like, what do you build? So spend more time there, because I think the could part is almost anything these days. And the time part is seconds, right? So, all right, that's going to wrap it up, because I feel like I'm just running around in circles now. If I feel like my thoughts are completed, my coffee's getting cold, and it's time to go. So if you have any questions, feel free to connect with me on Twitter or X, Gray's Reality, here on YouTube. Gray's Reality. I'll publish my app in terms of my personal app here to X. I'll probably add it as a link somewhere. Actually, no, that's not the one I want. I want the one that's actually up and running. So graysreality.lovable.app. It's a working app. Again, built in Lovable. Again, just stemmed as an idea of, can it replace what I was using before? I was using card. Could I build a simple card type solution alternative for my own landing pages, for personal, business, whatever? And so far the answer is yes. And just like the way ChatGPT answers me, it's always yes, you can. And so far with Lovable, it's kind of like, yes, you can. Like with varying levels of like challenge and difficulty, but so far, pretty much anything that I've had for an idea, I've been able to build using Lovable, and which is why I keep coming back to it. You can find more about Lovable, lovable.dev, or visit my little landing page thingy, or find me on X and find me on YouTube. Until the next video, peace, thanks. Thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out, thanks for rewatching if you're not here now, and we'll see you in the next one.